Okay, so this is just going to be hopefully a really quick video to show a technique for having illuminated muzzle flashes on enemies, which I'm sort of showing here. So every time an enemy shoots, it spawns a little light, or it positions a little light at them and lights up the environment, which I think looks way better than the default where enemies don't light the environment when they shoot a gun. So how do we do this? So this requires two scripts and a change to your enemy's states. So let's go through those. In the scripts folder, my map is called new map. So I have a new map.script and a new map underscore loop.script. New map script runs once when the level first starts, and new map underscore loop.script runs every single frame that that level is running. And so if we go into Notepad, we can look at my, oh no, I don't have them open. There we go, let's get them open. And then I guess we should go to the states and open the enemy as well. Okay, now we can have a look. So in my new map script, which runs once, I am going to create a light. So when the level starts, it creates a light. It creates this light at 0, 0, 0, which is the very top left corner, although it does create it in the middle of this tile, but whatever. It sets the range to 300, which is quite big. You can change that to more or less, depending on how bright you want your light to be, or like how far you want that light to go when they shoot. And it sets the color to 255 160 0, which is just an RGB value. Like if you want it to be green, you could change it to be green, I don't care. Make your guns shoot whatever color light you want. Then in the enemy's script where it's attacking, you can see this is the shoot state, which is where they attack. There are these 5 lines, and so when the enemy attacks in this frame, and then what they also do is they check their position with check pos, and they set their X and their Y and their Z to EX, EY, EZ, and then there are these 3 variables here. There's map.muzzleflashX, map.muzzleflashY, and map.muzzleflashZ, and those 3 values get set to EX, EY, and EZ. We do this because we need to be able to read the enemy's position in the loop script, and you can't just send these EX, EY, EZ variables to the loop script, but a map.dot variable is readable both here in the enemy FSM and in the loop script. So if we set the enemy's X, Y, and Z positions into like map.dot variables, then when we go into the loop script, we can also read those map.dot variables there as well. Basically, we're able to like broadcast this enemy's position into the loop script so that we can do stuff in the loop script. So the enemy finds out what their own position is. They broadcast their X, Y, and Z position to the map X, Y, and Z positions, and then they also broadcast this other variable called map.shotfired1. So basically, they do their actual attack, and then they set their position to a bunch of variables and set a variable to let the loop script know that somebody at this position has shot. Then, in the map loop script, I'm going to scroll down, just get rid of my branding, we have this really simple condition, right? If map.shotfired is less than 0.95, then the light will just get positioned at 0, 0, 0. But if it's more than 0.95, which it is when someone has shot, because it gets set to 1 in this line. So if it's more than 0.95, then we're going to basically take that X, Y, and Z position that the enemy broadcast, and we're going to do a little bit of offsetting. You might remember that I said that the light you spawn at 0, 0, 0 isn't actually at 0, 0, 0. It's at like the middle of this tile. So it's actually at 0.5 by 0.5. And so we're going to redo that offset. So we're taking away 0.5 from the X and the Y to move it right back into the corner. So it is now at 100%. It's 0, 0, 0 on the map. We then get the enemy's X, Y, and Z position, and we offset the light to that X, Y, and Z position. Which will then position the light basically where the enemy is. You'll notice I don't offset the Z by 0.5, so we don't move it down to the floor, we leave it halfway up the tile, otherwise basically the muzzle flash will appear at the enemy's feet. So we offset the X and the Y to make it precise, we leave the Z halfway up, and then we move the light to the enemy's position. And then finally, for all of the time that shot fired is greater than 0.95, we're going to take away delta time. So the light will move, it will stay there for a brief period of time, and it will move back again. And you can see that that's quite effective. It'll position the light at the enemies when they shoot. It is worth noting that there is basically one light that's getting shared and passed around between all the enemies as they shoot. The more enemies that you have at once and the more enemies that could be shooting simultaneously, the more likely it is that someone's shot will not get illuminated, right? Because if two enemies fire a shot in exactly the same frame, they're both going to want to use the light in their position, and only the last enemy that sent their position to the loop script will get the light positioned at them. So if you have a load of enemies, this is not going to work as well. Or if you've got like an enemy with a really fast firing gun and an enemy with a slow firing gun, the fast firing gun is going to keep taking this light. You'd need to create a pool of lights to do that, which is a bit more complicated. I just wanted a simple solution that will work most of the time if you have a small number of enemies. So yeah, there you go. That is how to do illuminated muzzle flashes. You just need to have this little conditional statement in your loop script. You need to spawn a single light at 0, 0, 0, and then any enemy that you have that is going to shoot, you're going to paste these 5 lines immediately after their attack, and you're going to have them all run in exactly the same frame. And that should do you illuminated muzzle flash. I will link this project, will be linked in the description down below, so you can go and download it and check it out for yourself. If that was helpful, give me a like or a comment or subscribe. I'm going to be checking up a whole bunch more of these little quick tutorials on how to do cool things in EFPSE over the next few weeks. Have a nice life. Bye.